such a prolific experience. You spent around 39 years of your life serving Godrej.
Thanks, Rishikesh. My pleasure. Yeah. So my name is Rakesh Sinha, and I worked with Godrej, as Rishikesh said. And when I left Godrej, I was the global head of the manufacturing, supply chain, and IT for Godrej Consumer Products. And after that, for the last 5 years, I have been consulting in the domain of supply chain and operations. Yeah. So that's briefly about me.
So why did you do a doctorate?
See, I like learning. And when I was handling supply chain, there were so many things, so many new concepts coming up, and so much to explore that I thought, why not dive deep into a particular area? And the best way of diving deep in a particular area is to research in that area. And once I started that, that led to a PhD. Just the interest in diving deep into one domain of supply chain.
Super, sir. Sir, the podcast is going to be watched by a lot of people who are industry leaders in supply chain and procurement domain, and they may belong to various industries. So we will start with this one particular thing. We'd like to understand, from you, the critical end-to-end processes which are involved in consumer goods manufacturing, right from raw material sourcing to finished delivery, maybe an overview of the entire processes.
So basically, there are four processes, and these are common across all manufacturing industries. So it starts with procurement, goes through manufacturing, and finally distribution of finished goods. These three processes are the transactional processes, and stitching it all together is an integrated planning process. Why I say integrated is because the integrated process for planning should do simultaneously procurement planning, production planning, distribution planning, everything together. But doing it piecemeal doesn't help. It has to be integrated. So that's the fourth leg of the supply chain and operations in any manufacturing related.
And sir, I will touch upon, what do you see the most important bottlenecks in this entire, four processes that you just talked about?
I think the biggest one that we are tackling now, and it's a small attempt from my side to change in the industry, is the mindset. There are there are a couple of things that I would like to talk about, and the mindset is so deep rooted. And there are some fundamental beliefs and assumptions which have worked well in the past, and people are not ready to challenge those assumptions just because they have worked in the past. But as the context changes, just like evolution, our supply chain processes need to evolve. So just understanding that the context has changed, our earlier processes are no longer the best ones going forward. If that part is done, then everything else falls in place. But that's the starting point, and that's where many companies are stuck, because for the past many years their current processes have worked. So it's difficult for them to see that in future these processes are going to break, and we need to tweak them. That's the biggest one.
And what I believe is that, sir, that can only be done by a person like you who has invested a lot of time working on the floors, managing the things, and also is aware of what recent technology interventions are happening in the market.
What you say is right to some extent, but thanks to COVID, many people have seen that the earlier processes completely broke down during COVID. So they have an on hand experience that in case of a serious disruption in demand, the processes do break down. And I'm sure every company's supply chain underwent a change during COVID, either willingly or they were forced to change, but everyone has experienced it. So it's not new to them, but the mindset that COVID comes only once in 100 years. So why build those changes in the process? The thing to realize is that small disruptions keep happening throughout, and it's our choice either to handle those disruptions or just play a victim's card, saying that we couldn't do anything in this disruption and we lost 10%, 20% of the demand because of this disruption. Obviously, these can't be predicted in advance. COVID could not be predicted in advance. So, like that, any disruption in supply chain is difficult to predict. These are all very low probability events. But the thing to realize is there is a very high probability of any of these low probability events happening.
Yes.
So in some years it could be COVID, other years it could be the Suez Canal crisis, other years it could be a container shortage, other years it could be something else. But some low probability event will keep hitting us every year and possibly every quarter and every month. So how do we make the supply chain resilient and agile to handle any disruption which cannot be predicted. That's really the process that we need going forward. And everyone has experienced it, so I don't have to teach them what happens in case of disruption. But they don't know how to prepare their supply chain, how to make the supply chain agile to handle any disruption, small disruption to big disruption.
Sir, if we talk about supply chain as a matter of subject, is so much, kind of susceptible to what is happening in the external world. Like it may be a war happening somewhere, it may be a Suez Canal crisis, as you talked about, it may be an epidemic. Sir, what is the role that AI can play in this entire schema of things in making supply chain more resilient?
See, I would talk broadly about technology. AI does play a role, but very specific roles. We can't leave the entire planning to AI. And Gen AI does play some role, but not a major role. But other things like agentic AI, they play important roles. The use of AI ML based models for near term forecasting, those models play a much bigger role. But in terms of technology, basically, why do we use technology? It should not become just a shiny objects syndrome, that just because somebody else is using this technology we should also do it. That works only for the basic transactional system like hygiene, like ERP. If everyone is having an ERP, I should also have an ERP. That logic holds good because it's just the hygiene part. But for running the supply chain efficiently and effectively, if somebody is using a tool, it doesn't mean I should also use it. So, technology, where should we use it, is a very, very important consideration. And it has to be carefully thought out. Why do we use technology? It's not for manpower reduction, it's not for cost reduction. If we are focused on technology, implementing technology for cost reduction or manpower reduction, then I think you lost the game. It's not for that. It's for doing something that we just cannot do manually and something that we wish we could do. So it's like a genie. So you make a wish to a genie, you know that you cannot do it physically. And if technology can do that, that's the major benefit of technology. Just imagine many years back when the concept of material requirement planning MRP started. If you're talking about, say, a portfolio of 10,000 products with the bill of materials, each having some 10 components in bill of materials, for each of those million combinations, you have to see the consumption pattern and the current stock, etc. It's impossible to do it manually. So there, using a technology helps. But now, if you're talking of disruption, how can technology help us in responding faster to disruption? How can technology help us in being better prepared in terms of the fundamental supply chain capabilities? How do we make our supply chains more capable? And wherever technology helps in that, I think that's the correct use of technology, whether it's AI based or non AI. But it should help in removing a limitation that we have with the current processes, with the current technology that we use, something which is sort of impossible to do even in Excel. So if we come across a use case like that, then we must use technology. Otherwise, you will get some small benefits here and there, but those benefits won't be game changers.
Got it. This is a thumb rule. Like it should not only reduce cost, it should not only reduce your human manpower, it should also do something which you can never do with the help of your time and human
Correct.
intervention.
Just see IoT, for example. Where do we use IoT? Where continuous tracking, which is just not possible by observing a process, continuous tracking helps. In one of the production lines, we had a very interesting case. This was for the liquid refills of Goodnight, where after the refills are filled, there used to be a person on the line. His job was to see the conveyor as the refill bottles were passing, to see if the level was correct, whether the cap was broken or tilted, whether the wick was correctly placed or it was slanted. All those, just the physical inspection of each and every bottle. And you can imagine 100% inspection, visual inspection, doesn't mean zero quality defect. So they are replacing it with an AI based tool for visual monitoring. There it makes sense because it can do it much more effectively It won't let any defective bottles pass through, and it's much more cost effective. So it's not just for cost reduction, reducing the cost of that one person who is sitting on the line, but really to make the quality inspection, online quality inspection, much more effective. That's where technology helps.
Got it, sir. Got the context. Now, sir, one of the major things inside supply chain is onboarding the right suppliers, monitoring them, doing quality checks, and also evaluating their performance. Where do you think technology or digital tools help us do that?
See, if the current processes are working well, there is no need to automate with the technology. But if the current processes are broken at any place, and this will differ from industry to industry, where the current processes are broken, or if the current process of quality inspection is delaying the delivery, finished goods delivery to customers, then automating it helps. So it should either cut down the lead time for the overall process, or it should make the process much more effective in terms of catching any defect. If these two are not happening by the new technology, then the current process is good enough.
And sir, how do these manufacturing locations or facilities keep a track of which are the better suppliers that's coming out on the market, or they're not missing out on the new suppliers who may be doing a better job?
Luckily for good companies, the suppliers approach them. So we don't have to scan the market. If the company is well reputed, all major suppliers and new suppliers who are coming with a better technology, they would approach. Only thing is we should keep our eyes and ears open and have an open mind to try out new suppliers as well.
So
After,
how
of
do we
course,
keep
the due
so,
diligence.
sir, how do we keep the eyes and ears open? Because you told in the beginning that there's a mindset shift that is required, and there are a lot of manufacturing facilities who are not ready to listen.
For suppliers, generally they are willing to listen for introducing new suppliers, especially if the new supplier comes up with a better technology and a lower cost. So they are willing to listen because cost is still a major consideration for purchase people. So anyone coming with a better product and a lower cost, I think they will. We don't have a mindset issue. It's only when somebody comes up with a disruptive technology which eliminates a process completely. For example, which doesn't require inspection. It's foolproof. It can't fail. So so evaluating those technologies for new vendors becomes difficult because then you have to tell the excuses guy that you are not required for this process. I am eliminating your work. So that becomes a bit tricky for the purchase people. And now there are many vendors who come up with such technology that we don't need any incoming inspection. It will work 100% of the time correctly. If there is any failure, it will stop working. So the Jidoka concept of Toyota.
Now I will go to demand forecasting, sir, because demand forecasting and sales and operations planning has to be linked with manufacturing schedules.
Yes.
I would like to understand from you that what are the key data inputs and decision points that go into linking both of them.
Yeah. Firstly, we should understand why do we need forecast. And what should be the horizon for forecasting? It's only for taking certain decisions, decisions like what to produce, what to purchase, what to distribute. There are certain decisions for which forecasting is required. Each of these decisions requires a different time frame of forecast. For distribution, we may need just the next 5 days of forecast, maybe, or 7 days. For production, we may need the next 10 days of forecast. For procurement, we may need the next 30 days of forecast, just hypothetically. Now, the that's where the new AIML based models come in handy. And this forecast has to be done at a very granular level. So in FMCG, if we are selling our products through, say, 2000 distributors, and each of those distributors is carrying, say, 500 SKUs, then we are talking of about 10 lakh combinations of distributor SKU. Now, how do we forecast demand for these 10 lakh combinations? And how frequently do we do it? The conventional way is to do it on a monthly basis in S&OP at a higher level of aggregation, and then use certain thumb rules for disaggregating the demand at distributor SKU level. For example, for a product, you can estimate at a state level or a region level or national level, and then break it down to distributor level. For certain products, you may estimate at a brand level and then break it down to SKU level. Those disaggregation rules create a lot of error in forecasting, because what is currently happening is not the same as what has happened in the last 7 8 months. So whichever rule you use for disaggregation, it's going to induce some error. Secondly, the frequency of update. If you do it only once a month, it's like you're keeping your eyes closed to what's happening in the market for the remaining 29 days. Then you wake up after 30 days, do a fresh forecast, and then sleep again for 29 days. That's not being agile. If we want to be agile, we have to do it continuously. Scan what's happening in the market, which product is selling better, where the sales are accelerating, where the sales are decelerating, which event is coming in that forecasting horizon. Is it Diwali, which is coming in the forecasting horizon, and the chocolate sales will go up? Is it Christmas coming up and the cake sales would go up? Is it monsoon and some of the respiratory diseases for pharmaceutical companies will bump up? What's coming in the forecasting horizon? Which events are coming? And there are hundreds and thousands of events. So, which relevant events are coming in which geography? The monsoon may set in at different points in time in different geographies. Building those, these are called demand drivers. So, building those demand drivers and their impact on the forecast in the near term and updating it frequently. Now, FMCG, the leading companies have started updating their forecast daily. Not gone are the days where it used to be once a month. It's a daily update of what's happening, tracking the market, tracking the demand driver events, updating it daily. And that's where some of the neural network based AI ML models come in handy, which cannot be done through statistical time series models. There are complex relationships between various events and their impact on demand, their interaction effects of various demand drivers. So you need something like a neural network to estimate demand in the short term. And that's where the benefits come of using technology. It cannot be done manually, just cannot be done. Or in Excel, it cannot be done.
Got it, sir. From your experience of last 5 years and even before that of around 39 years in Godrej, which are the processes right now into consumer goods manufacturing that are undergoing digital transformation and require digital transformation?
So what I said is technically called demand sensing. It's not demand forecasting. It's a continuous sensing of demand at various locations for various products. So demand sensing is definitely gaining traction. The second one, which is gaining traction, is the use of agentic AI. So AI agents, which can do certain tasks, which is sort of impossible to do manually. I'll just give you an example. I'll give you two examples. One is the availability of their products. And there are people who track how is the demand shaping up, and the models can also tell us the near-term forecast and how is our supply situation. Is there a likelihood of stockouts in any geography for any product? That's where agents can do a much better job, because they can scan the entire company's supply database and the demand side, stitch it together, and give us the potential stockouts over the next couple of days or 3 days. So if we need to expedite deliveries to certain location to avoid stockout, we can do that. So those actions is impossible for any human to do it for 10 lakh combinations continuously, where we are likely to go short. So that's one thing. And second thing where such agents are getting used is to prevent obsolescence and maintain freshness of products, especially in food companies with short shelf life of 5 days or 30 days, etc. So continuously sensing demand, sensing the supply side, how old the stock is, and how to distribute it so that we avoid any obsolescence, any expiry. So their demand sensing plus the agentic AI, these two are helpful in manufacturing for a long time. This IoT and visual monitoring, those have been used and they continue to gain traction in manufacturing.
Sir, one question which is not actually related to this, but is that a lot has been talked about, China being a manufacturing hub, and a lot of Indian companies look upon their operations in order to improve their processes. Where do you think, if we talk about consumer goods manufacturing, where do you think, India should learn, in order to be at par with China, what are the things which are needed to be done?
See, it's wrong to say that China is better everywhere in every sphere of manufacturing. There are certain highly repetitive mass production items where they have cost advantage because over a period of time, due to large manufacturing facilities, they have managed to streamline their products for highly repetitive. Now, where India's course is in terms of flexibility. So, if we have a wide assortment which is produced on the same line, then I think Indian manufacturing has an edge over not only China but over even US and European manufacturing. Where we lose out is very large scale manufacturing of highly repetitive product, where a line produces only one item and their efficiency of production counts a lot. If it's a if you see a line in Europe, for example, if you see a soap line, the line will produce only one size of soap without any changeovers, etc. Whereas if you see in India, the same line may produce 10 different sizes and shapes of soap. So it's much more efficient in terms of use of capital, and we gain in terms of our expertise in managing this flexibility. So wherever flexibility is required, I think Indian manufacturing definitely scores over others.
Got it. So there's only also one problem which has been discussed, especially from manufacturing industry point of view, is the lack of skilled manpower there. And we have seen that a lot of companies have started, creating programs around, skilling the manpower, upgrading them, and all those things. What do you think are the, you know, initiatives which companies are running and which should be done in order to attract more and more people towards, pursuing career in manufacturing?
Skills and technology go hand in hand. There's no point in developing skill if that is not useful in the current technology. And there's no point in implementing technology if we don't have skilled people. So these two have to be synchronized. If we are implementing new technology, we should have skilled people. If we are not doing that, there is no need to have that specific skill which is required in technology. And I don't see that type of gap. Wherever companies are using technology, they are able to get skilled people or they are able to skill their workmen pretty quickly. But doing it in advance doesn't really help, because you may skill a lot of people in lot many things, but if skill is not used, it's not useful at all.
So it has to be on the work, kind of, skilling that has to be done.
Correct. And on the job skilling works very well. People experience in using that skill on the job, and that's where they learn the most instead of just a classroom.
Now, my last question will take you back to the first minute of our discussion, sir, where you talked about, mindset change. Is that change management is very critical while you are implementing any digital transformation project in an organization. What strategies have you found effective in ensuring workforce buy-in and smooth transitions?
So, as I said, most of these implementations are like Jenny's, opening a bottle of Jenny. So, if you can get it out from the team that I wish we could do this, and then stitch it back in terms of how it can be done, then we have the complete buy in. But if I don't hear that term, I wish we could do this, then change management becomes an issue. The moment it comes from the team that I wish we had a tool which could do this, then it will be a smooth sailing in implementing that tool. So if we need to take some more time in getting that specific phrase from people that I wish, that's really the key. And we shouldn't start implementing till we get it from the people, from the team, that I wish we could do like this. I wish we could have an electronic eye which could check each and every bottle
Yes.
and give 100% correct results. That's an I wish statement. And then the technology that we use is the video camera on the.
This is so simple and so insightful, sir, that if every organization implements this framework where people say that I wish this was there, so this acts as such a great bedrock for any digital transformation initiative to be successful. This is
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. I have tried to implement that process in all my engagements, that people say I wish.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. This was an insightful discussion, and it's always a pleasure, to host senior professionals like you.
Thanks, Rishikesh. All the best. Bye.
Thank you, sir.